Hello everybody and a very warm welcome back to the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This is the United Stand. I am Kev Ashford and I'm back on a Thursday night. It's great to be with you. So much to get through this evening. Is this Ten Hag's last chance, as the thumbnail says? We've got some Ronaldo quotes to bring in. Obviously Ronaldo has hit out at Erik Ten Hag. Erik Ten Hag has responded today in his press conference. He's hit back. It's all kicking off. Marcus Rashford, the PR machine has been in full overdrive over this international break. Obviously, he has not been involved, but the main thing is that the big football is back this weekend. Oh, yes, forget about international football. See what I did there? Yeah. Anyway, let's crack on with the show. Make sure you get your chats in. Make sure to finger that like button and show your appreciation for the Thursday night. Sure, I can see loads of Kev Army, Kev and all that in the comment section, which is absolutely mint. And if you're one of them people that always says, no mark, no party, stay around, you know what I mean? I can party with the best of them. But ultimately, what I want to do this evening is obviously going to be heavily based around Erik Ten Hag and where you're at. I'll give my thoughts, but in terms of a poll, I think we'll go and run a poll straight away. Simply, are you an inner or an outer when it comes to Erik Ten Hag? Which is, I know it's a bit of a term that you look at and you think it's not a great term, but I think there's a difference between being in and out. I mean, you could be staunch. I am out. I have had enough of this man. Get him out. Now, if you were saying, I will give him till Christmas, which I think a lot of fans would probably give him that time, then you're an inner at this stage, aren't you? It doesn't mean that you're fully on board, but for the purposes of the poll, hopefully I have explained it, make sure you cast a vote. We'll get through this now. We'll get all your interaction. Any comments you want to get into the comment section. I always enjoy reading them out. And please don't try catching me out this evening, which obviously going to try and do that. But yes, very warm welcome back to the Thursday night show. Let's get this kicked off. Where are you at this moment with Erik Ten Hag and basically at Manchester United? What are you thinking? Because I wasn't on last Thursday, so I've not been on for a good week. And usually international kind of break, there's not much going on in terms of news and what comes out of Manchester United. Obviously, in the past, the news that we probably would have got was when a certain like Paul Pogba was at United and he used to go off and play for France, and we'd get little sound bites of him speaking to the French press and not saying great things about United and saying how he played for France and that. But if anything, I think it's been quite explosive. And obviously I will get into the Cristiano Ronaldo comments because he's such a huge figure. He's a legend of United. So when somebody of that sort of magnitude speaks out, then you will listen. But at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to agree with him because he is Cristiano Ronaldo. So that's something I do want to bring, obviously, into this evening's show. But in terms of, are you an inner, are you an outer? I think you have to give Erik Ten Hag time. And I know people will say it's easy for Kev to sit here and say that, you know, you wanted Ten Hag. I did. I wanted Ten Hag. I was happy he took on the job. But even for somebody like me, I struggle at this moment in time. I mean, I sit on fan forums after the game and I'm having to basically react to what I see. And I can't sugarcoat it. I certainly would never try pulling the wool over United Stand viewers' eyes. And I have to look at it and I just say it is simply not good enough. And some people will subscribe to the theory that over the last 2 seasons, apart from maybe the first season, a top 4 finish in a Carabao Cup, and then Ten Hag kind of not set himself up, but he set the standard. You know, United fans will use that then as a benchmark. And anything less than that then in a second season would be deemed as failure. But the FA Cup win obviously has bided him time. I think there is no doubt that Erik Ten Hag would have been sacked. We've seen previous managers win trophies at this club. A certain Louis van Gaal was, you know, sacked the evening whilst he was still celebrating an FA Cup win. So I do think it bided him time. I do think the fact that the new kind of hierarchy come in, you've got the top men now, they keep saying they want best in class, and I understand. If you're sat at home now or wherever you are, sat at work watching this and listening to me, you might not subscribe to that theory that Erik Ten Hag is best in class. But the one thing that the new hierarchy have done, they're giving Erik Ten Hag a chance under this structure. So Jim Ratcliffe was very quick to say that Erik Ten Hag was trying to do everything at Manchester United. He said he was even trying to fix the leaky roof, which was clearly tongue-in-cheek, but he must have seen the workload that was pushed upon Erik Ten Hag. And maybe this will apply to previous managers at Manchester United, and this is probably why they were always set up to fail, because they didn't have anybody working behind them, working with them. You know, David Moyes had his struggles. Louis van Gaal has always stated that Manchester United was a commercial club. That's all they were bothered about. And we knew that. We knew that deep down. But as a supporter, you go along every week, you want to see, a vision on the field. And this is where, at this moment in time with Erik Ten Hag, that's where I'm at. Because I am watching Manchester United every week, like a lot of yous. And I can't see it. I can't see a pattern of play. I don't know the identity of Manchester United. I don't know what we are. I can't even see, the playing out from the back. What are we? What are Manchester United at the minute? We have lost our way. And for me, this was a big season for Ten Hag. Yes, he's got the 2 trophies under his belt, which is something he has alluded to, which is another thing that kind of draws me away from Erik Ten Hag. And I lost a bit of respect when he come out with that comment. The one that behind Manchester City, we've won the second most amount of trophies. And I'm looking and thinking, Erik, we need to be building season upon season, like Arsenal are doing at the minute. Would any Man United fan give up a Carabao Cup to be competitive in the Premier League over the last 2 seasons, running Manchester City close? Of course you would, because that would suggest that your football team is playing very, very good football. Over a 38-game season with Manchester United, and in the Premier League, it's the best league in the world. If you finish second, yeah, you run us up, but you know that you have run Manchester City or whoever it will be very, very close. And that's how you have to gauge it at this moment in time. It's all right saying that you've got these trophies in the bag, but everybody knows. I mean, how close would we go to going out? Not necessarily the best team always wins a Carabao Cup, wins an FA Cup. But that team that's crowned Premier League champions at the end of a 38-game season, they are the best team in that division. It doesn't matter whether it's on goal difference, whatever it is. You've got Scousers crying, saying, oh, if only Man City hadn't, got so many points. Well, we'll deal with it. Silly knobheads, you know what I mean? The best team at the end of that season that finishes top of the league are the champions of England. And that's where we need to get back to. So I thought it was interesting, the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo has kind of used this week to drop a kind of interview which goes in on Ten Hag. But there is a pile on. There's another legend, Paul Scholes. I've got a few comments to say on him because he's come out about 2 of Erik Ten Hag's signings. One of them's only just signed. He's basically saying they're not good enough. So the media pile on this week has been absolutely brutal. It's been savage. We know that Manchester United make headlines, sell newspapers, get clicks. Of course we know that, but the way they are going about it, some of the stories that are coming out, dressing room leaks again, it's clickbait, but to an extent, when you've got somebody like Ronaldo coming out with comments like that, it's you do sit up and listen. Let's see. Obviously, we've still got the poll running. We'll keep that running, so make sure you get involved in that. I think I'll have a little vote on that myself and see where we're at. We've got 1,800 votes on it, so make sure you get involved. At this moment in time, The inners, we'll call it the inners, we're at 74%. So I like that, but again, it's your opinion. The United Stand is your channel. So this is your chance to get interactive, have your say. I always say, listen, the comment section, absolutely top notch on a Thursday, and I set myself up every week. But here we go. Scott Page, this is on the Ten Hag thing. Next 4, we need 8 to 12 points to silence the critics. And isn't it crazy, Scott? And the rest of the United Stand viewers, not just you in particular, but the fact that we're going into our 4th game of the Premier League season on Saturday at Southampton at 12:30. And it is a must-win game. You know, the media are billing it, but sometimes I would distance myself from that and I'd sit back and I'd say, no, that's unfair, that. They're just piling pressure on Erik Ten Hag here. You know, they're setting him up to fail. The fact that we didn't get the result against Brighton, the manner of the defeat against Liverpool, you know, if we'd have been beaten 1-0, 2-1, give it a right good go, in context of the game and what you've seen, you might have been able to look and go, well, it's Liverpool, it's a massive game, it's whoever wants it more on the day. It was alarming, very, very alarming. And that's why when I look, and last season, I always said about Ten Hag, about giving him time, the one thing he did have last year as an excuse was the injuries, which were absolutely horrific. Now, yes, we're missing Højlund. Luke Shaw is not available as well. I can't think of any more sort of big name injuries. They're obviously 2 at this moment in time that would definitely strengthen the team. We haven't got an alternate to Rasmus Højlund at the minute, which again begs the question, well, in the summer, why have we not addressed that issue? But, yeah, Scott, I mean, Scott's saying we need 8 to 12 points. Saturday, it could really be a massive, massive moment in Ten Hag's kind of career at Manchester United, because I speak about the Liverpool defeat and the manner of the defeat. You know, I mean, God forbid, if Man United lose this game and are embarrassed, outplayed on Saturday, which personally, I know it's the hope that kills you, but I go into this thinking that Manchester United do have a point to prove. And I'm not likening it. I could never liken Erik Ten Hag to Sir Alex Ferguson. You would never mention him in the same kind of sentence or breath. What I'm saying is you need to build up that siege mentality at a club. And I think Ten Hag can use a lot of the bad press that's being written as that kind of ammunition at this moment in time. And the team talk should be very, very simple. You know, you only look back to the game against Liverpool. You use that as your motivation. You question your players' mentality, attitude, whatever you want to do. You question their personal pride and say, do you want to wear this shirt? Well, if you want to represent this club, you go out there today and you do it for yourselves, but ultimately as well, you do it for the fans. You know, think of them fans that are going to be up very, very early to travel to Southampton. You know what I mean? You don't just jump on a bus and in half an hour you're at the ground or whatever. That is a long day. And, you know, the travelling United fans have been subjected to a lot of shithousery, shall we say, over the years. It's been a painful watch. But Kyle Robinson, a member for 6 months, says, I will decide after this weekend and in a moment, but if he can only play in one way with specific players, that is unhealthy for our future. Absolutely loving the interaction. Make sure you get your comments in. If you've joined us late for some reason, you might have been putting the dog out or the kids to bed or whatever, man. Just come in from work. We are on the topic of Erik Ten Hag and where you are at this moment in time. I mean, I'm trying to make my case clear that in terms of the poll, certainly an inner, I think results will definitely ultimately determine Erik Ten Hag's future. And at that point, it doesn't matter what Kev from the United Stand thinks. You know, I can sit here till I'm blue in the face and tell you, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. And I do see shades of that at the moment with Erik Ten Hag at United. I can't lie about it. There's certain decisions that he's making on the pitch once the home fans start booing, you know, I don't see United. People use the word toxic, but especially at Manchester, the home crowd are usually a decent lot. You know, when you see fans booing because Garnacho's getting brought off instead of Rashford, you know, and Ahmad, I think it was a build-up of Ahmad probably coming on in that situation as well at 3-0 down after getting player of the month, after scoring against Brighton, very easy target. He's setting himself up, Ten Hag, so I will not be able to defend him. I can sit here, I can say I would certainly give it till Christmas, but ask yourself this question. You know, if United got 0 points from the next 3 games, the panic button is getting pressed. And Kev will be there pressing it. Of course it would. You're not telling me that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Brailsford, Barada are going to sit back if United do not get a single point from the next 3 games. They will have to act on that. It's all right, Barada coming out recently and saying, you know, Ten Hag, he's the man. You know, we trust him. We're working with him. Because, you know, in theory, what's that? You're looking at, what, 6 or 7 games it could potentially be then. And you'd have 3 points from the opening game against Fulham. And then you are looking at a crisis. You are looking at relegation. A relegation scrap so early in the season. But it simply isn't good enough. And Ten Hag will run out of excuses. He did have the injuries last season. Fair enough. I'll give you that. Like I said earlier, horrific injuries. But this season, United have invested heavily, brought in top players. Yes, we're missing Euro as well. Sorry, I missed that one earlier. He's going to be a great player to have in that squad. You know, some people might argue at this moment in time, walk straight into the team. But Kyle says Rodri is also very low, but it is Erik Ten Hag's poor tactics that expose Casemiro, as he said. The style is counter-attacking is not good enough for the English Premier League because other teams are counterproductive. Other teams play better football than us. It's as simple as that. Manchester United, yeah, counter-attacking football under the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson and that, but has that day or that ship kind of sailed now? You know, most teams now, it is a possession-based game and teams want to play out from the back. Look at what Brighton have been doing over the years. You know, they play a good brand of football and we see it so often. And United have just fallen so far behind. They don't even know how to deal with teams like that now. And teams have embarrassed us, totally embarrassed us. We don't take the game to teams from the first whistle. You should be going straight out there, attacking these teams, especially at Old Trafford. You should be saying, we're Man United. You know, remember the song, we're Man United, we do what we want. Now it's almost like, we're Man United, we do as we're told. Because that's what's happening, you know, any other week. It really is. That's what's going on. But thanks for the super chat. That guy, Beto92, says, as we fans need to defend our players, especially the new rivals from the toxic media. De Ligt owned Jota the first half, but somehow he's a flop. How? Question mark. I love that. And that's another point that I had to bring up. You know, with the media agenda against Manchester United, which has been clearly evident in what is always going to be a slow news week. International week, it tends to be about England and that. But, oh no, let's not focus on England. Let's focus on Matthijs de Ligt, who's playing for Holland. You know, you've got massive accounts, social media accounts, putting out stuff like de Ligt finished the last time he will ever play for the Netherlands because he played a bad pass, you know, which led to a goal. And already people are questioning that. And why? Because Matthijs de Ligt plays for Manchester United, the biggest club in the world. You know, if Matthijs de Ligt plays for, I don't know, Southampton, Fulham, Manchester City, you know, one of them kind of shit teams, there's not a chance that Matthijs de Ligt gets called out. for what he does on international duty. But because he represents Manchester United, it becomes a thing. And I'm glad people's eyes are open to this kind of thing. It would boil your piss. It really would. Ray Carl Brown says, same old nonsense, my mate, in the third year of a manager. Listen, I'm going to read this full comment because it is a democracy here on the United Stand, and I think it'd be very boring if everyone just went, yeah, keep him in, see what happens at Christmas, you know, and then just get rid. But somebody hitting back, I like that. Same old nonsense, my mate. In the third year of a manager, have we not been here before? Should sound familiar, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. It wasn't Jose and Ollie in year 3 or their stint. But yeah, I understand where a lot of supporters are coming from now. Supporters will look at this and say, it's his third year. I always said that I would give Erik Ten Hag 3 years at United. So to me, the honeymoon period is well and truly over. Now we move into this year, and the way that he has been backed financially, these must be players that he's been to the hierarchy, they've signed it off and said, yes, Eric, you know, we'll put pen to paper on that, we'll sort the deals. I've absolutely loved the way that the deals have been structured, the deals have been done, because United didn't act like that in the past. So from that sense, certainly on transfers, has got a lot better. But on the football side of things, and especially with Erik Ten Hag, there needs to be a massive improvement. Because like I say, if we don't get many points now in the next few games, you are talking about a crisis at Manchester United. And I'm not saying this to sensationalise or, well, I was going to say scare people. I'm not going to scare you, because if we don't, then you should be scared. And there won't be time to look back at the start of the season and just say, well, give him a bit more time, give him till Christmas. By giving him till Christmas then, if things didn't go well in the next few games, you are just writing off a whole season. Yes, you've got the Europa League, Carabao Cup and FA Cup. But again, we are going to fall into the category of being this kind of cup team. Is that what you want to be? You know, we only just snuck into the, what do you call it? The Europa League this season. We're Man United. We're actually at this moment in time a Conference League team. We got through because we won the FA Cup, which I was absolutely delighted with. But we finished 8th in the Premier League. You know, let that sink in, as if you didn't know anyway. We finished 8th in the league, and we should have been in the Conference League. You know, the Europa League won't be easy this season. Anybody that thinks that'll be a walk in the park and we can, we'll just go and win that Europa League, and then it gets us in the Champions League, doesn't it? You know, Mourinho did that at Manchester United. It was a huge, huge gamble, which did pay off for him. You know, he more or less sacrificed the Premier League at a stage to go all out to win that Europa League, which it worked, but it's a massive, massive gamble, You know, you're writing off a Premier League season. In theory, what you are doing is putting all your eggs into one basket. But I do like the difference of opinion. I always say that on the United Stand. So if you want to continue to get that in, then do that. But, I mean, let's move on to Ronaldo and see, you know, the kind of comments. You will have read them. And at the risk of maybe repeating or going over old ground, something that maybe Mark has said, maybe Beth has had her say as well. But, I mean, where do you sit on this? I mean, who is in the right? You know, Erik Ten Hag, during this international break, has basically come out with a comment. Now, I've just said before, the comments that Erik Ten Hag said about winning these 2 cups and being second behind Manchester City for winning the most trophies in England, it didn't sit well with me. You know, I look at that and I think it's the sign of a manager who is under huge, huge pressure at United. At the same time, it's almost where you get into that point where you not believe in your own manager. I'm thinking, does he actually believe this? Does he actually think he can pull the wool over supporters' eyes? The ones that are watching every week, the ones that are in the ground watching this. Yet we're supposed to celebrate and accept this fact that because we've won a couple of trophies in the last 2 years, that, you know, it doesn't matter what happened in the Premier League. We finished eighth last season. You know, let it sink in. It's crazy. And yet you can't paper over the cracks. The one thing we need to be is back challenging. And this is obviously something that Ronaldo has come out with. But, I mean, who's right? I've put down here, Ronaldo or Ten Hag. So Ten Hag has come out and basically said that Manchester United at this stage can't compete for the Champions League or the Premier League. So I'm like, well, fair play, Eric. Bit of honesty. I like that. He's being honest. But, you know, Ronaldo has had his own, you know, kind of spin on it. And I understand. I absolutely adored Cristiano Ronaldo when he was at United. And still from afar now, I look at him and think, amazing specimen. What a great footballer. You know, I think he's probably the greatest of all time, the greatest that I have witnessed in the flesh. And I have seen some footballers, especially at Manchester United. Ronaldo was just sublime and went on to get even better and better. So this is where I'm saying, when somebody like this speaks, you're interested and you want to hear it. But, I mean, Ten Hag, has he not been honest by saying we're not at a point where we can compete for the Premier League and the Champions League? We were an absolute embarrassment in the Champions League last season. There's a reason we got booted out at the group stage, because we were embarrassing. We finished 8th in the Premier League last season. Why? Because we were embarrassing. So why is Eric Ten Hag going to come out at this point now again and try to pull the wool over supporters' eyes by saying, oh, we are ready to fight for titles, and we are, it's a rubbish impression of Eric Ten Hag. We are, you know, ready to challenge for the Premier League and the Champions League. Even me as a fan, knobhead Kev, can sit here and say, we're at no point are we anywhere near challenging Manchester City. Liverpool walked over us the other weekend. We're not even close to them in football terms at this moment in time. You know, there are other teams. Arsenal are on the rise. You know, and that's what worries me about this season. But Eric Ten Hag, to me, has been honest and said that we're not at that point where we can challenge. Whereas, I mean, Ronaldo has set his own narrative and gone straight in, because Ronaldo has an axe to grind, because things didn't work out in his second stint at Manchester United. Eric Ten Hag was a major factor in that. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo himself, when he knew he wasn't in Ten Hag's plans, what did he do? I know what I'll do. I'll get on the phone to Piers Morgan. Let's get an interview sorted. You know, and if you're going to go to basically a beady-eyed bastard like Piers Morgan and give an exclusive interview, then you reap what you sow. There was never, ever going to be any coming back for Ronaldo at United. Once you've spoken to Piers Morgan, you know what I mean? You look at his back catalogue of things that he's done and said and whatever. I won't even go into it. But you give him an exclusive. Of course, you know, all the eyes of the world are going to be on it. He's on a talk show which gets, you know, mega hits. Ronaldo knew what he was doing. He instigated to leave Manchester United. So on Eric Ten Hag basically saying that United are not at this stage yet where they can compete for the Premier League or the Champions League, which I thought was refreshing. I'm thinking, right, well, I actually agree with you. I agree with you on this one. Ronaldo said the coach says they cannot compete to win the Premier League and Champions League. As Manchester United coach, you cannot say that you're not going to fight to win the league or Champions League. But again, I mean, if Eric Ten Hag had come out and said, we're going to fight for the Premier League, we're not even in the Champions League, so how can we even fight for that? Fight to get back in the Champions League. He could have come out and said that. So what, has he just worded it wrong? You know, a lot of what Eric Ten Hag says does get lost in translation, but I mean, Ronaldo goes on to say, what I wish for Manchester is what I wish for me, the best team they can be. I love the club. I'm not that kind of guy that forgot the past. And listen, us as United fans, Ronnie, will never forget what you did in the red shirt for Manchester United. The first stint, even the second stint to an extent. Some people might say he tarnished it. The way that he went out, in that blaze of sort of flames with the interview with Piers Morgan. But I'll always respect Ronaldo. Of course I will. And if he's got something to say, I'll listen to it. But that's exactly what I'm doing here, and I'm going through it. But I mean, it's the bits where, I mean, this is obviously an interview he's done with Rio Ferdinand. And he's saying you about Rio Ferdinand or Roy Keane or Paul Scholes or Gary Neville, Sir Alex Ferguson, you cannot rebuild a club without knowledge, not guys who work in the office, which I found absolutely bizarre. I know he's gone on a podcast with Rio Ferdinand, they're friends, football friends, so he's got him in. Come on, Ronnie, come and help me out with a few views here. You know, the YouTube channel's on its arse, so he's gone in. Give him the hits that he needs. Obviously, give him a great exclusive because he's coming out with some things that Rio Ferdinand will be absolutely loving. But, I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, even trying to wax lyrical about Rio Ferdinand and give, you know, his ego a massage, saying that, basically mentioning with Roy Keane and that, and saying that you're the guys with the knowledge, like you should be something to do with Manchester United. I'm like, really? You know, I'm like, Gary Neville, good pundit. Is he an honest pundit? You know, you put a Manchester United manager who's played for this club before in charge of United, he will not criticise him. Because again, they're friends. Right, all right, mate. Roy Keane says it as it is. You know, doesn't strike me as somebody who doesn't give a shit, you know, if he's got friends or not. He has always been very open, very scathing in the past. And I think that's why me, relate to Roy Keane. So, yeah, but managerial-wise, you know, did all right at Sunderland, dropped off a bit, and really is probably a better pundit than what he was a football manager. I don't think it's too harsh to say that. Sir Alex Ferguson is on the board at United. I'm sure they'll take into consideration certain things that he says. But let's not forget that Sir Alex Ferguson was the one that recommended David Moyes for Manchester United. So you kind of look at that and think, you know, that didn't really go down well. So what was it? The chosen one. You know, that's certainly, they should have listened to him. But you don't just go off it and say, yeah, David Moyes is going to be the next Sir Alex Ferguson, because that would have never have worked. I just don't see... I understand this DNA argument and that you need certain players maybe in and around the club, but I don't think you need too many of them. I think we've got a lot of them in the media at the moment. Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, and to an extent, they seem quite happy sometimes to go in on United, which is what they're there to do. You know, Gary Neville is obviously grew up as a supporter of Man United, massive fan of United, so of course he's going to come out and say what he thinks. But when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was in charge, you know, he found it very difficult to judge him because he was an ex-teammate. And the way you can see this panning out, I mean, let's just say worst case scenario with Erik Ten Hag. If results don't go his way, and let's say by Christmas time, we're on a horrific run of results and we're looking at it and he's gone, basically. For me, and this is, I don't know whether other people might have noticed this, they might have seen already that, for me, that there's already a succession plan in place, which we never had under the previous regime because they were just absolute idiots. You know, you talk about Old Trafford was turned into a circus. They were the clowns running it. As long as money was coming through, they didn't give two shits. But there is a succession plan, and it's staring right in front of us. Because if it doesn't go right for Erik Ten Hag, it does fall off, there's nobody else other than Ruud van Nistelrooy. And this is a guy that is, and I'm not advocating here and saying give Ruud van Nistelrooy the job at United, because being, you know, coaching in a different country, coming over, what Van Nistelrooy has got, and this is what Ronaldo is alluding to, is that connection with the club. So yeah, he's got it. Will the players respect him? Without a shadow of a doubt. And if they didn't, and somebody kind of questioned him, you couldn't say to Ruud van Nistelrooy, well, what have you done? What have you done at United? And this is where David Moyes got it. You know, David Moyes was asking Rio Ferdinand to watch videos of Phil Jagielka. That's the way to defend, son. You know, making changes at United. That team in 2013 had won the league. You know, he inherited a team of champions. And look where we finished under Moyes. So it has been a disaster. But for me, the succession plan is in place. For me, I think it's as clear as day that this is the backup plan, that if it does not work out for Ten Hag, we won't be in a place where we're scouring a market, we're looking for an ex-player, you know, ringing up somebody who just used to play for the club. Can you just come in? You know, and, you know, the old give it Giggsy till the end of the season. It's not going to be that, because I think Ruud van Nistelrooy is there to learn from Ten Hag. And I said when they first brought Van Nistelrooy in that I always thought he, more long-term, if he worked well with Ten Hag, and it was a great success, that in years to come, that was going to be the succession plan. But that will be brought forward. Make no doubt in my mind that if things don't work out with Ten Hag, then Ruud van Nistelrooy would come in. Again, whether it's till the end of the season, just to steady the ship. But again, we are then back at square one. It is literally rinse, repeat. And we have done this cycle for so many years now. You know, you get bored of it. You know, it's the reason some of us on the United stand have been giving Erik Ten Hag time and time and time, because we know that once we press that reset button, you get a different manager in, new assistants, you have a clear out, new manager in, different training methods, whatever it is. But at the same time, I understand that, you know, people will want change for the good of the club. We need to start seeing things. But yeah, I mean, Ronaldo went on to say that the people who understand the football are the people who were there in the dressing room. They know how to deal with the players. But it's a clear sort of dig at Ten Hag. There is no doubt that Cristiano Ronaldo left on bad terms. And the things that he's saying, you know, he is looking at Manchester United from a different perspective now. He is able to throw these kind of comments out. But Erik Ten Hag has basically hit back today. He basically said that Ronaldo said that Manchester United could win the Premier League. If you read the article very well, he said, he's far away in Saudi, far away from Manchester. Everyone can have an opinion. It's okay. And Erik Ten Hag went on to say, it doesn't impact me. I know in the process where we are, where we're going. I just bloody well hope so, that Erik Ten Hag knows exactly where we're going, because it does feel like a bit of a journey at the moment. It's certainly an emotional roller coaster, and you're kind of looking at it and thinking, where are we going to end up? You know, surely we can't be any worse last season, finishing 8th. And we should have been in, you know, the Conference League. It's only because we won. I say only because we won the FA Cup. The FA Cup was a great day out, but it depends how you define success. You know, in a few years' time, Arsenal have been challenging for the last couple of years. They've come close, not good enough. They'll continue to get stronger, and if they can keep pushing City, then Arsenal fans would argue that the last 3 or 4 years or whatever, they're actually brand of football and going to the Emirates. It's a good style of football. You know, they're probably coming away entertained and thinking, yeah, man, that was mint, that. You know, that was a great game of football. Really enjoyed that. Whereas us, coming away from Old Trafford, with probably more questions than answers. That's what it seems to be every single week at this moment in time, and it is hard to take. But another thing I wanted to touch on, I mean, there was Jamie Jackson from The Guardian. I mean, I certainly won't go through all this, but the headline was that Ten Hag not under pressure to secure top 4 finish for Manchester United, which, again, you think, oh, is it a bit of clickbait, this one? Let's get into this one. Let's delve in and see. Let's see what is going on. But he is under the impression from people that he spoke to at Manchester United that Ten Hag, if he finishes outside the top 4, wouldn't be under pressure, which I find absolutely staggering. Now, if United start playing a brand of football, which, again, I live in hope. It's the hope that kills you. We're watching every week and I'm thinking, today, on Saturday I'll be doing the same. I'll be like, today's the day it kicks in. Ten Hag ball. And then it won't. And then next week it'll be today. And then, it's just like every single week. But yeah, I mean, he is saying, while Ten Hag's ambition is to lead United to as high as a position and Ratcliffe's Ineos-led football department want the same, there is recognition there are no guarantees next season as the club rebuild, and that establishing a firm foundation will allow ongoing success. I mean, surely finishing outside the top four would be deemed as a failure this year, unless you start seeing a pattern of play, unless we have a really, really good run of games and somehow we just miss out on top four. Maybe they will deem that as progression. You know, if we finish, let's say, 5th. And yeah, I suppose it is progression on last season because we finished 8th. So I suppose any higher than 8th could be deemed as progression. But again, then it comes down to, well, is he going to deliver a trophy? You know, is the Europa League viable? Is it something that United could win this season? I think that it would be very difficult. It's something, like I say, that Jose Mourinho did manage to do, but I mean, we'll have to have a look at that. But again, let me just have a look, make sure I'm up to date with all the comments. Yeah, hello everyone. Belter, absolute, great to see you all in there. I like to pop in every now and again and see. But again, on Erik Ten Hag, we have kept this show predominantly kind of Erik Ten Hag to see where we're at this moment in time. But I'll just come out with this. Paul Scholes, another ex-pundit of United, who always has lots of lovely things to say about the club. No, he doesn't. I was quite surprised on this one. Very surprised by Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes says, well, he's named 2 United players that he said are not good enough. Can you guess who they are? Well, you probably read the article and you're probably like, yeah, Kev, I know. Onana and De Ligt. You know, as if De Ligt's weak from hell, as some people said on social media. As if his week couldn't get any worse. Now we've got Paul Scholes, an ex-legend of the club, saying that Onana and De Ligt are not good enough. You know, how many games has De Ligt played? You know, I think he started 1 game for United this season already. Paul Scholes is writing him off. And I know why. Because when we were chasing Mazraoui and De Ligt, Scholes was quick to say, why are we signing players, you know, that Bayern Munich don't want? He kind of jumped on that kind of bandwagon. So that's fair enough. But to write off a player that has started 1 game, and as the Super Chat said earlier, you know, did have a decent first half against Liverpool, you need something to build on. You know, he's just come into the club. He needs to know how Martinez works. You know, he must be like, who's this crazy Argentine? You know, the butcher, they call him. He's bloody mental. That's what he'd be saying. But, yeah, I mean, to single out De Ligt and then to single out Onana, I mean, let me just see exactly what Scholes said. Again, things can be taken out of context. So you have to certainly do your homework, but Onana was the one. I know that there's people that are not massive fans of Onana, but let's just say, sorry. Yeah, I mean, he's basically said, yeah, I mean, there's no point me going through that. He's basically coming out with them 2, and he's saying that Onana and De Ligt are not 2 players that you want in your team if you want to play out from the back. And he's going on to say, in the games that he's seen them play, and again, De Ligt's only started 1 game for United, he's seen nothing to suggest that United will be able to play out from the back with these 2 players. Now, I struggle on the Onana one. I look at Onana and he baffles me. I do look and think, some of the goals that he, I say, let in that could have been prevented last season, you could be really, really harsh and say that he was solely responsible for United exiting the Champions League last season. Some of the mistakes he made were absolutely mind-boggling, especially when at one moment he can pull off like a world-class save, yet even in the cup final, Doku, you know, low down, the wrist, it just kind of buckles and it goes into the corner and you're thinking, You know, and it does go back to that interview, David De Gea would have saved that. But playing out from the back, Onana is levels above De Gea, without a shadow of a doubt. That proved it in the FA Cup final. The one that we actually won, Onana played out from the back really, really well. The one that we lost the previous season with De Gea was De Gea trying to go long ball, not being able to find a man, and it just invited a swarm of City players on every single time. We couldn't get a breather. So I was surprised at Paul Scholes going in on both of them players. I understand that some supporters, I've spoken to people in the pub before, and they will say that Onana is not good enough for United. And it's one of them, if you could have the shot stopping of David De Gea, and you could bottle up the kind of footwork playing out from the back of Onana, bottle it up, make some kind of super hybrid kind of goalkeeper, you've got the modern day keeper. You know, but other teams do have these. Alisson's, Edison, teams already have these kind of players in place. And it will take time. Onana, in his defence, hasn't had a settled back four. Look at the amount of combinations of players that we used last season was absolutely ridiculous. Let me have a look into all up to date. I did have... Oh, Greg, we'll close down the poll on Erik Ten Hag now, just to see exactly where you're at. Might be able to find this myself now. You know what I mean? I'm getting... Oh, there we are. So, are you an inner or an outer? As we said at the start of the video, we've let that run. There's over 5,000 views, so thank you for getting involved in that. I like that. I'm not going to sit here and say, yay, you know, I'm the leader of the Ten Hag inners or anything pathetic like that. But 72% of you, the United Stand viewers, are saying that at this moment in time, you're an inner. But again, I did state that doesn't mean that come Christmas time, bad run of results, you can quickly change to out, because that's how it will work. I mean, it's not when you define in and out, it's quite different. You know, it is the hokey cokey, you know, in out, shake it all about. I don't want to be changing my mind every 5 minutes. I don't want to be one of them flip-flop fans, one of these people that sit here on YouTube and 1 minute they're Ten Hag in, next minute he's out, just reacting to results or certain games and going, he's rubbish, get him out, get this guy out my club and all that, because it's, not really my kind of thing, but I suppose it's wherever you are at this moment in time. One of the other things I wanted to talk about during this international break has been a player, and this will fit in now actually with a look ahead to Southampton. Obviously Southampton 12:30, the early game on Saturday. I never like them early kickoffs, especially when you've got to go all the way to Southampton after an international break. I mean, if Ten Hag needs an excuse, he's got one already if things don't go well. But you're probably seeing it, Instagram, on X, whatever it'll be, but the way that Marcus Rashford's PR kind of machine went into full overdrive, and it's no coincidence that Marcus Rashford obviously wasn't involved in the England squad. He's not been involved in the England squad for a very, very good reason. He's not been playing well for United. In fact, I'd argue that he's not really played well or anywhere near the standard of what we've seen in the past for a good 18 months. So by that definition, you shouldn't get into the England squad. You certainly shouldn't just get in there on name. And yeah, I mean, on Instagram, we had some videos. We had the one in the boxing gym. There was captions saying, keep it moving, raw material, mixing it up. And Rashford's PR has obviously gone into full overdrive. They understand this is an opportunity, because he's not playing, to kind of put a feel-good factor out there. You know, let's raise the name of Marcus Rashford, which in a way I found cringy. I'm not going to lie to you. I look at it and I think, seriously, you know, your people have advised you that this is a great move. You know, fans will see through this. No amount of seeing a footballer, especially one that's so out of form at this moment in time, beating a punch bag with a pair of gloves on, you know, doing a bit of skipping, turning round a kind of metal, kind of whatever it is, like one of them metal walls on a football pitch that's like a person just stood there, and smashing a ball in an empty net. I'm not going to look at that and go, wow, can't wait for Saturday. Southampton won't know what's hit them. The only way Marcus Rashford can do that talking, shouldn't be doing it on social media. Do it on Saturday. You know, and even then there's an argument that he shouldn't even be in that team on current form. There's Ahmad. Some people would even argue that Garnacho would be ahead. You know, you would start them two, left and right, so there wouldn't actually be room for Rashford. But it's all about raising the profile, isn't it? Because he's been quiet for a week. Let's push this out. Let's show the United fans I'm working hard. I never doubt that he puts in a shift in training. I regularly think to myself that, you know, is that the reason he starts? He must be unbelievable in training. Yet when it comes to match day, for some reason, it drops off. But, yeah, I mean, the main thing is, do your talking on the pitch. You know, if you want to do your celebration, you go over, you want to cancel things out, he's going to have to score a goal first, isn't there? And there'd be no better way of doing that on Saturday. But there are critics. I'm a critic. A lot of people on here have been critics. All the fans. It's not an agenda. It doesn't need to be spun into anything that it isn't. That, oh, that lot over there, Rashford this, Rashford that. It's just, all you do is react to what you're watching on the football field. And it's simply, he must know deep down that it's not been good enough. And if he thinks it has been good enough, then that is a serious issue. You've got a player that probably has believed his own hype, surrounded himself with people that are probably saying in his ear, you're world class, you're this, you're that. He's not. He's not even in the conversation. Could he get there? You need hard work. Ask your old teammate, Cristiano Ronaldo. He's in a position where he can put out pictures. You know, he's got hundreds of millions of followers. He'll put stuff out there. But, you know, he did it on the pitch. Still doing it now, scoring midweek for Portugal. But, yeah, I mean, the Rashford thing, I don't know what you lot thought of it. I just thought, how well-timed. Listen, I'm a man of a certain age. I do get very sort of sceptical when I see things like that. But the fact that he's not or wasn't in the England squad, I think he's just been advised this is a great opportunity to raise your profile, get it back out there. And I've always said that, I mean, the work that Rashford did off the field, absolutely unbelievable. What he did for children, free school meals at the schools. I'll never knock that. Never knock it. But at the same time, on the football field, that's where I judge Rashford. I've got no doubt he's a sound lad, great, you know, been brought up in the right way, whatever. But there has been issues. Last season, they were highlighted. And when you're in the public eye, when you're a person like Marcus Rashford and you're playing at such a, you know, a historic club, then it comes as part of the baggage. You know, when you're representing that club, you're going to be watched. So you have to be careful what you're at and choose your nights out wisely. You certainly have to. Let's have a look into the live chat. Can we get Kev? Tony Swinton says, can we get Kev 1,000 likes? Not even on 1,000 likes yet. How dare you? Can't believe it, man. Usually be rocking a few more than that by now. But yeah, there's your what do you call it? There's your mission from now until the end of the video. Where are we up to? Right, let's have a brief look before we end the look ahead to Southampton. Let's have a look. I'd done a bit well, I'll say research. It wasn't really. The main one from Ten Hag's press conference today, which again I had loads of quotes. Pretty boring going through all the quotes in it, but the main one is on Ugarte, new signing, Uruguayan. Quite interested before the international break that Ten Hag was saying all this Harry Potter stuff and he's not going to be ready. You know, don't expect him to be ready in the not distant future. And we're thinking, what we've signed him for? I get it that for Paris Saint-Germain, he was put into the bomb squad or whatever, and he wasn't, you know, allowed to play. So in that terms of match fitness, yes, he isn't going to have that. But his pre-season just started. He's just played 2 games for Uruguay. I think one of them, he might have lasted the 90 minutes. One was around the 70th minutes. He come off. So in terms of match fitness, he should be ready. And Ten Hag did speak today in his press conference, and he said, Ugarte, you will have to see, you will have seen he played for Uruguay. I did. He returned this afternoon. He was the only player who returned today, the rest yesterday. So he is available for this game. And this wouldn't even be a poll, because I know if you were going to ask, who are you playing as your holding midfielder on Saturday against Southampton, Casemiro or Ugarte? You know, and again, it's not a pile on. Can only go off the past game. What a scene of Casemiro. It's not getting any better. It's not getting any easier on the eye. You are looking at a player that is certainly on the decline. Legs. You need legs in the Premier League, especially playing that position and trying to cover the back four, being this kind of anchor that will free Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes to an extent to support attack. So in terms of Casemiro or Ugarte, it's not up for debate. Let me throw it into the live chat, and I'll get. Oh, there we go. Who starts at the 6? We've actually got a poll running. Casemiro or Ugarte. I would be heavily, massively surprised if that is not going to be one of the biggest landslide votes we have ever seen on the United stand, and that is simply because the defeat to Liverpool will still be fresh in the memory. You'll be looking back and saying, he got hooked at half-time. How could he possibly start him against Southampton? You wouldn't be surprised, though, would you, if Ten Hag started Casemiro and put Ugarte on the bench, and then when it's not going right, he'll make that change. Maybe he doesn't want to put too much pressure on Ugarte, but you've signed him for big money. And if he's just played 2 games for Uruguay, he's ready. The man himself has spoken. Erik Ten Hag has said, get voting on that one. That'll bring us up to the end of the video. We will get the second poll. We've done 2 polls this evening. We've discussed Erik Ten Hag. We are 70% in favour of being inners. That's what we're called now. We're inners. He's an outer, Jeff. He's an outer. Don't like him. It shouldn't come to that. There shouldn't be this divide. The other one, I mean, I've heard a few shouts. I did see a post from the United stand today in terms of the goalkeeping position. Some people feel that Onana should be dropped for Bayinda, which is that a kind of move that you would make at this moment in time? You are just trying to establish a settled back four. You know, Luke Shaw, Mazraoui has been a revelation so far at right back. I think he's looked really solid in sort of when we weigh him up to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who we got rid of. De Ligt, again, he's finding his feet. Had a good first half against Liverpool. Martinez picks himself. Diego Dalot just continues to just succeed all expectations. Playing out of position, doesn't even look out of position. Equally as comfortable on the right-hand side. So great to have a versatile player like that in the team. And then, yeah, I mean, personally, Ugarte goes in there next to kind of Mainoo. Has to be in that 6th role. A bit further forward, I would drop Marcus Rashford. I've just said before. I don't know how long we can keep going on and looking at these performances. Again, I say it's the hope that kills you. I'm not one of these kind of players that heavily invests my time in individual players, you know, unless that they are a Brian Robson, a Roy Keane, an Eric Cantona. But, you know, they don't come along that often. You know, they are, I don't know, what do the kids say today? Icons or, well, legends, aren't they? They are just players that you would love to have back in their prime. You know, I think we've missed that connection at this moment in time. But again, I mean, Marcus Rashford, would it be that bad for him to sit him on the bench? Give him something to think about? Yes, he's been in the ring this week, punching a punch bag, letting a bit of that frustration out. He got the skipping rope out. He's belting balls into empty nets and that. Fair enough. It's training. You know, as Roy Keane would say, he's just doing his job. He is just doing his job. That's what you get paid to do, mate. But the main thing is, on a Saturday, Sunday, whenever it is, game day, you know, you have to go out there, cross that white line, and you give it your all. And I do question Marcus Rashford at this moment in time. You know, the way that Ahmad was ever dropped against Liverpool, you know, it didn't even go under the radar. Everybody could see it. Easy target. That's what Ahmad is. How do you get player of the month? Score a goal against Brighton, then the Liverpool game comes up. A game that, again, last year, you know, come on, scores the winner, Amad Diallo Day, and then he's overlooked. If I'm Ahmad, I'm fuming. That's another thing on Eric Ten Hag is man management. And you are not going to keep somebody like... There's no point at the start of the season about Ahmad saying this is his time. You know, scores a goal against Rangers pre-season, looks the dog's bollocks. You know, and you think this is it. Ten Hag's talking him up, and then you drop him. You drop him to accommodate. And once you start accommodating and shoehorning players in that aren't even in form, it's a recipe for disaster. You know, at least Ahmad will give you a shift, track back. And in terms of a winger, you'd probably argue he's the best winger at the club. And that isn't saying much. You know, if you're pitting him or putting him up against Anthony, Garnacho hasn't been great start of the season, whether it's the Copa America or whatever it is. But Rashford, no, I wouldn't put him ahead of Ahmad. I certainly wouldn't. And if Ten Hag's got something about him, I would start with Ahmad and start with, I'd go with Garnacho on the left. Leave Rashford out. What's the worst that could happen? Yeah, you might get a backlash from him if United didn't win, but you'll never know unless you try it. And what I would want to see in Rashford, you would explain to him, this is where man management comes in. You would even say that on current form, I'm sorry, but you don't get in, in this team. But if I need you and I need to change the game, you know, make sure you're warmed up. You know, I will be looking at getting you on. If things aren't going to the plan, or even if we're winning, you know, I will look at getting you on. That's how it should be. And surely if Rashford's got anything about him, use that as motivation. Surely he needs that as a kick up the arse. Otherwise, what is it? He's just rocking up every single week thinking, it doesn't matter if I even play bad here. I can drop a 3 or a 4 or a 5 or whatever. He just keeps picking me. I'm not really, you know, I don't even have to raise my levels, but he's going to have to, big time. You know, I had put as well, Ahmad must start, which I've gone through, and has Xerxes done enough? You would probably think that it's going to be a little similar to the team that played against Liverpool. My personal preference wouldn't be to start Rashford. I would probably go Garnacho left. Yeah, Garnacho left, Ahmad right, play Xerxes in this false 9 thing again, because Ten Hag has come out today in his press conference and said that Luke Shaw and Højlund, they are back training, but they won't be fit for this game. So the centre forward, it is an issue. It is an issue because we can give Xerxes time. He already admitted himself when he signed for Manchester United, you know, don't expect me to score loads of goals. This ain't my thing, which is fair enough. Part of his game is linking up the play. And on another day, could have scored 2 against Liverpool. You know, he did have 2 chances, but he did get into the right positions. So, again, we kind of live in hope, as we always do. But I've got a couple of chats to clear, and then we will call it an evening. Oh, what do you say? We'll call it. Well, I'll say good evening. I'll go home. You can crack on as well. Jason Day gifted 5 the United Stand memberships. Absolute legend. Cole says, Mazraoui has been amazing. Dalot is one of our best players. When, if ever, Shaw returns, is there any other place Mazraoui fits into the team since Eric Ten Hag always picks his favourites? Eric Ten Hag in. What a great one to end on. Thank you very much for the super chat. It's a good question, that, actually. But what I would say, Col, is you certainly need strength in depth. You're going to need to rotate players. If Luke Shaw does come back into this team, he's going to have to, his minutes will have to be managed. We can't burn him out. And there's going to be plenty of opportunities for game time. You know, it won't be long until the Europa League kicks in. We've got the Carabao Cup. We've got the FA Cup. Once it all kicks in, there's going to be plenty of game time. And I'm a firm believer in you're only as good as your last game. You shouldn't get in this team on reputation of who you are. You fight, you work hard to get in. And once you're in that team and you're performing, it's up to others to kind of displace you and fight. That competition at United, we haven't had. When you have two players for each position and you've got that healthy competition, that's what you need. You know, the great Mourinho side at Chelsea, he always went on about having two players for each position. And hopefully when Euro comes back, you look at the kind of central defensive area, not an issue, as long as we can stay injury-free. If Luke Shaw can come back, Malacia, you know, the forgotten man, if he can come back, then it makes things look a hell of a lot better. But there's still things to kind of address at United. We're under no illusion that there's more transfer business to be done, whether that be January or the summer. There's still players kicking about that we need to get rid of. But in terms of Saturday, Southampton, Kev always gets giddy. And should I do a prediction? Why not? 3-0. 3-0 I think we'll win. But we've got loads to come here on the United Stand. Obviously, you have your morning show tomorrow, all the usual. And then we're leading up to match day. So yes, international football is over. Let the Premier League. The Premier League is back. You can't beat it. Thank you very much for joining me. I don't even know how many likes we got on this video. But if I didn't get 1,000, I will go to bed this evening and cry myself to sleep like a little baby. I won't. I'm only joking. But I've been doing this long enough now to know that maybe the likes will jump up a little bit as more people watch it. But what I would say, thanks very much for your interaction. Thanks for getting involved in the poll. Let's just double check on the poll of, I did say I thought it was going to be one of the most one-sided polls in the history of the United Stand. Is Kev going to be right here? Who would you start at 6, Casemiro or Ugarte? And yeah, well, it's big. 80% have gone with Ugarte, which means that 20% went for Casemiro. That is quick maths. Thanks for joining me here Thursday nights. Absolutely love the interaction. Cheers, MUFC Fan 2000. Don't say cheers, Kev. Cheers to you. Thanks to the viewers, the people that make this all. Savage, great show, Kev. Thank you very much, Jason Day. Cheers all. You just work away in the comment section. I'll see us out here. Have a fantastic weekend and up the Reds for Saturday. You've been watching the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This was the United Stand.